right, so this is the first one. It said determine the quadrant or quadrants in which x, y is located so that the conditions is or are satisfied. This just means that there could be one or it could be more than one. So it said x divided by y is less than 0. In order for x divided by y to be less than 0, it means they have to have different signs, right? So one has to be positive, one has to be negative. That happens 2 places in your quadrants, which is quadrant 2 and quadrant 4. Number 2 said write standard form of the circle with the given characteristic. So you wanted to first find the center by doing the midpoint, and that was -2 plus 4 divided by 2, 3 plus 7 divided by 2. You should have gotten 1, 5. And then there's 3 ways that you can find the radius. One is like this. Find the distance from the endpoint to endpoint, which would have been 2 root 13, and then divide it by 2 to get the radius as root 13. The other way to do it is to find the distance between the midpoint and an endpoint. You would have just gotten the root 13 that way. And then the third way is to take the x and y, and you could pick either one, and then use 1, 5 as your HK, plug it into your equation, and solve for r. So that would have looked like this. The x, let's say I use this first one, okay? The x would have been -2, so it's x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So -2 minus 1, which is the h, squared plus y, which is 3, minus k, which is 5, squared would equal r squared. -3 squared plus -2 squared, 9 plus 4, which is 13, is your radius squared. The benefit to this is you don't even have to then square root it, because in the equation you want it squared. So you could literally just rewrite that x minus 1 squared plus y minus 5 squared equals, and then keep the r squared as 13. Doesn't matter how you do it as long as you do it right. So one of those 3 ways, you could choose whichever one you want. This is the third one. So this is your find the intercepts and the symmetry. And the purple is the intercepts. So if I plug 0 in for y, I get the x-intercepts to be 0, 0 and -3, 0. And then if I check on the y-intercept, it's also 0, 0. Plug the 0 in for x, I get 0. And then the symmetry. So when you plug in -y into the equation, it looks like this. Only the y changes, so this would be no. When you test for the y-axis, you're plugging -x in to the x. When you do that, you keep it in parentheses. So the -x squared becomes a positive x squared, but the negative on the front of it is still there. So this is what should happen after you simplify. Y equals -x squared plus 3x. Some of it changes, some of it doesn't. So again, it's a no. And then the origin, you're changing the -x and the -y. It changes the last sign, it changes the first sign, but that second sign, the -x squared with a negative on the front, stays negative. So again, it's no. So this one's not symmetric to any of the 3 axes. So that was a little shaky. Just be really careful. And then find the equation of a line that passes through the given points. You got to first find the slope. 8 minus 4 over 5 minus a -2 becomes 4/7. And then you have 2 choices. Either do what Justin did here, which is the y equals mx plus b. Solve for b and got 36/7. Or you can do the point slope. So I could say y minus, and again, you can pick either point. So let me just pick this first one. Y minus 4 equals the slope, which is 4/7 times x minus a -2 becomes +2. I get y minus 4 equals 4/7 x plus 8/7, and then add the 4 to the other side, or 28/7, and I get y equals 4/7 x plus 36/7. So either way you do it, same answer. Just again, be careful with your fractions. Silly mistakes get made there. And then the last one was find the equations of the line that pass through the given point and are A parallel and B perpendicular to the given line. So from your given line, the only thing you're finding from there is your slope. Remember, you can either do -a over b. So -4 over -5 would give you 4/5. That could have been your slope. Or you can do what Yanel did here and solve it for y and then take the slope from what's next to x. Either way, you get the slopes 4/5. And then that's it. You're done with this equation after that point. Remember, you're only taking from there the slope. Then you want to do a line that's parallel to it, which means the slope's going to stay the same, but you're using the new point. And then you're going to do a line that's perpendicular to it, which means the slope is the opposite reciprocal, and you're using that negative 2, 3. So when you distribute and simplify, you should get y equals 4/5 x plus 23/5 for the parallel, and you should get y equals negative 5/4 x plus 1/2 for the perpendicular. You can always double check here because the slopes on your ending answers should be opposite reciprocals of each other. So it's one way to kind of check yourself that at least your slope's right. Questions on any involving P3, P4, P5? Okay, so your quiz, which is on Monday, is P1 to P5. This is going to be your last major grade of the semester. It is going to be on Canvas for those of you that lockdown works. We'll test it out tomorrow. We'll do like a dry run tomorrow with a couple of practice questions. I will give you, like I said, an answer sheet in which you'll show me the work, and then you'll do the things like graphing, because there's going to be graphs of lines, that kind of stuff. Graphs on the number lines, you'll do that on the actual paper itself. There's no calculators. It's 12 questions. It goes all the way from P1 to P5. There's a quiz review on Canvas with suggested problems, and then most of them are odd, but the even ones I give you, the answers are right there on that. My advice is to do that this evening so that tomorrow we can go over those. Questions on quiz expectations? Okay.